This is the luxury world. Get inspired with us today and tomorrow. Even though our times are strange given the pandemic and the continued global recession in most economies, the status of the luxury watch market is genuinely odd. It's a strange sight. One of the most well-known and famous brands in the world has primarily vacant shop displays worldwide. Rolex timepieces will always be present in almost all of the luxury watch market. People always sought after this reputable brand of luxury watch for many decades. In watch collecting communities, there is much discussion and theorizing about the causes of this situation. The supply, the demand, and the simple desire for what one cannot have all play a role. But the tale is not over yet here. Some people refer to it as the perfect storm of interconnected events that has sent the watch industry into overdrive. As we speak of the shortage in the supply of Rolex watches across the globe, this question arises. Are there too many millionaires or too few Rolexes? What specific timepieces are we referring to? It's not like there are not enough watches in general. This problem only affects the most hyped up and sought after models, which tend to come from a handful of brands like Rolex. In today's video brought to you by the luxury world, we will be discovering if there are too few Rolexes in the market or if there are just too many millionaires. If you still have not subscribed to our channel yet, make sure to do it now so you can stay updated on our future videos. Recently, it's a topic that comes up pretty frequently in the watch community and the ongoing luxury watch market. It's seemingly the irreparable lack of certain stainless steel sports watches from Rolex. The most noticeable examples are Rolex Steel Sport or professional watches like the Submariners, Explorers, GMT Master 2s, and especially the Daytona. However, some Rolex Oyster Perpetuals are also difficult to find and go for prices for more than retail. People resorted to alternatives when a popular model became difficult to obtain because they too were quickly picked up and sold extremely fast. Although Rolex and Audemars Piguet have watches that have become symbols of a limited or non-existent supply of watches accessible at retail, the issue is not limited to those two companies. Exclusive steel timepieces like the Patek Philippe Nautilus are also impractically hard to get like Rolex. Even though it's not the only brand that is difficult to get in stores, Rolex is a fascinating case study because when it comes to shortages, Rolex represents the whole watch industry. It signifies that there is a lack of supply in the watch industry along with the fact that more waiting lists will also be a worry. Rolex waiting lists are definitely not a brand new occurrence, and the demand for watches in general has been increasing for years. The fact that Rolex watches are hard to find at retail from an authorized dealer is widely known, and there have been countless disputes on the extent to which this may or may not be caused by numerous causes. One of these is Rolex purposefully withholding watches from retailers. The shortfalls in supply caused by industrial closures connected to the pandemic, shopkeepers intentionally stockpiling products to raise street prices, and so forth. Officially, Rolex has stated that the shortfall is solely attributable to the high demand. When the topic does come up in the watch market, we believe it to be a natural doubt against the notion that it's simply a case of demand vastly outstripping supply, or the fact that there are really many people who want a Rolex now than the previous years. Let us look at the concept of supply and demand in this situation for us to better understand it thoroughly. Supply. The most realistic strategy is to start considering the most straightforward scenario, which is that Rolex is unable to meet the market's demand for watches. It's indeed that Rolex scarcity is nothing new, but in its status, it's getting worse. The hobby of collecting timepieces has truly become more inclusive. Let us begin by talking about how many watches Rolex produces. As a matter of policy, Rolex is a privately held firm that does not release sales data in public. However, Alex Williams of The Times reported that the company made an estimated 1.05 million watches in 2021. Also, according to a recent research study conducted by Morgan Stanley and Luxury Consult, Rolex provided an estimated 29% of the market for luxury Swiss watches. The second concern is if this is noticeably greater or less than Rolex watch output in the past. It was reported that 2015 is the final year for which there is 100% accurate data about the actual production data of Rolex in the public. The reason is that this is the final year in which the COSC, or Contrôle Officiel Suisse de Chronomètre, the organization that certifies chronometers, has made information about the number of chronometer certificates given for various brands available to the public. With 795,716 chronometer certificates given at the time, Rolex was making about 800,000 timepieces annually. If the numbers for 2021 are correct, Rolex will have produced around 25% more watches in 2021 than it did in 2015. There is also frequent misconceptions that Rolex deliberately limits supplies. They speculate that it started out intentionally and was so successful that Rolex is now unable to meet the demand it generated. Such rumors are common, but we are unable to confirm them. We can also say that the supply was impacted by the pandemic. Rolex is rare in that it manufactures almost all of the components for its watches. Yet, if even one sourced material or component is delayed or unavailable, the entire process can halt. There was at least some impact in supply in 2020 since COVID-19 forced the Rolex plant to close for a couple of months. Demand. Considering the demand side of the issue, it's more difficult to measure. It would appear clear that if demand has grown, it has accomplished so primarily for two reasons: a rise in the number of individuals who can afford luxury watches, and the growth in the number of people who want luxury watches. The number of millionaires in the world is an arbitrary figure, but it's nevertheless intriguing to consider in light of the ongoing Rolex watch shortage at retail. There are now more options for buying and selling luxury watches because of this democratization, which also includes the exchange of knowledge and excitement among watch enthusiasts. It's now simpler than ever to learn about watches, buy them, and buy hot commodities speculatively with the intention of profiting from them. When it comes to the capacity of consumers in the market to buy luxury watches, we can simply say that many people now belong to millionaires. Since there are various definitions of millionaires, the answer to the question, how many millionaires are there in the world, varies on who you ask. On the other hand, according to Credit Suisse, there are 56 million millionaires in 2021. Given that there are 56 million millionaires and that every one of them wants one Rolex regardless of the model and the references, and if we suppose that Rolex did in fact create about 1 million watches in 2021 and that there are 56 million millionaires, then Rolex is only meeting about 1 in 56 of the actual annual global demand. It really comes in handy with the capability of Rolex to supply the demand for their watches. It should be obvious unless we missed something why Rolex watches at retail are scarce. If we keep in mind that some Rolex watches will be in much higher demand than others like their steel professional models and Daytona for example, and that you don't have to be a millionaire to want or afford a Rolex. We also give credit now to the advancement of technology and the influence of social media marketing. In 2015, Rolex uploaded its first photo to Instagram, and since then, marketing using social media has become the trend. There has been an unprecedented increase in demand for luxury watches because of our willingness to expose ourselves to them at an unexpected rate and in massive numbers. It's unclear whether a brand's or model's success is a result of exposure on Instagram or simply a reflection of their prior popularity like what Rolex had even before social media became a popular marketing platform. In the beginning, Rolex was by far the most well-known luxury watch company in the US and even in some parts of the world. When Rolex was first introduced in 2010 in social media, Instagram had roughly 370 million users. Even if the proportion of luxury watch posts has not changed at all since 2015, there were approximately 2 billion users on the network in 2021, which is a 440% growth. You can begin to see why the most sought-after models are rather hard to come by if you consider the fact that not just outright millionaires want to be able to stroll into an authorized retailer and purchase a Rolex. It will not be easy to judge whether people purchase timepieces out of desire rather than out of necessity. It's our personal choice, and no one can reprimand us on that part. But as far as the scarcity is concerned, it seems to me that the reason we have one is very obvious. More consumers than ever want what good timepieces have to offer and are willing and able to pay for it, despite recent challenges in the economy. What can you say about the video you watched today? Does the problem come within Rolex itself? Or is it just about the increasing number of millionaires looking after this luxury watch brand? We are excited to hear your thoughts about it. If you like this video, we will be glad if you let us know that too in the comment section below. Don't forget to follow us and give us a thumbs up. Once again, this is The Luxury World, and we look forward to seeing you again in our next video.